I get why Darby Allin pointed at my belt. I get why Darby Allin challenged me for my title. I understand where you're coming from, what you're trying to do. But in an ironic twist, I have become the advocate. I have become the voice of reason. I've become the person concerned for somebody's health. Because I know that Darby Allin is gonna come at me and come at me and come at me, and he's not gonna stop until he can't move. And it's never gonna cross his mind once that the last time we wrestled, I nearly broke his neck. But it weighs heavily on me. I don't necessarily want on my resume, I'm the guy who ended Darby Allin's bright career. He's my favorite guy in AEW. But the title's on the line, man. When you sign that contract, you made yourself just like everybody else. And I gotta do what I gotta do. Well, I'm not gonna try to talk you out of anything. But I have to ask you, please, please, when it's time to stay down, just stay down. Even though I know you're not gonna listen.
We're back, All Elite family, for another exciting edition of the All Elite podcast. As always, I'm your host, All Elite Andy, and we're here on a totally different day. On a Thursday, I had a little bit of things going on, so fortunately my co-hosts were scheduled around what I had going on. So we're going to do things a little different, not just talking about Dynamite. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of, well, not a whole bunch, but some AEW news and other things like that. But before we jump into that, how you guys doing?
Doing good. Been doing a lot of writing, budgeting. I've been out of the writing phase now, so I can stop saying that. I'm in the hellish budgeting the movie phase. And I got a beanie from a friend, and it goes against human trafficking. Look up Becoming the Brand if you're interested.
Nice. I'm currently dieting. I'm starting dieting because
Full gear challenge, brother.
Yeah.
Got fat again ever since the apocalypse happened, so
We all
I'm
did,
down.
bro. We all did. I think everybody put on that COVID-15. We'll all be talking about it, but that's cool, man. Healthy is good.
Yeah. Miserable.
Yeah.
How are you, Kira?
I'm good. Maybe I'll get into the diet too, but right now I'm very hungry.
Very hungry.
Me too. Me too.
That's cool. I'm doing good. I'm not dieting. I'm just big chilling. I got to see my dad this week. That was fun. He came out from New York, so that's actually why our schedule is a little bit different. My dad came out for my little brother's graduation, so we had to schedule around a couple of different things, which was cool. But I did end up getting to watch Dynamite this morning and getting all caught up on all of that. Like I said, we will talk about Dynamite in a minute, but first we have to talk about news that just came out, the AEW Dynamite ratings. A really, really good week for Dynamite. AJ, I believe you said 900 and some odd thousand. That is a great number. Pushing a million.
901,000.
Yeah, pushing 1 million viewers. That's crazy. I mean, that's something worth being excited about. Hopefully the number continues to go up, but that's interesting.
I wonder what the highest rating is, because that sounds like one of their higher ratings. Like
it's probably top 5, like up there. And it's going to be interesting to see. We're going to get into this later, but it does affect the ratings. How the schedule change will affect these ratings, because they're not going to be running against NXT. So it's going to be interesting to see if you get more or less because people are accustomed to a habit, or people are going to be tuning in more maybe because there's nothing running against it. It's going to be really interesting to see what's going to go on in the future.
Yeah, it's an interesting number. I think, like Phil said, it's interesting to see just this high of a number because it's definitely up there within the top, like you said, AJ, top 5. It might even be in the top 3. I want to say the first show probably did maybe 1 million, I think. But after that, I'm not sure if they were able to follow up. I think they did maybe another 960,000 viewers the week after. So it's very interesting to see them able to maintain this number. And if they can maintain this number, I guess I should say, because it's a great number for this week, but will it continue to go up? Could it potentially go down? who knows? We'll have to wait and see, but this is a promising number for AEW. I'm sure the people within TNT are very excited and happy about this number as well, so it's a very cool thing, I think. I was very surprised, AJ, when you said that number. I did expect AEW to do well, but to do that well, and in the same vein, NXT did really well too. It's not like it's not like AEW stole all of their viewers. There was about 1,600 or 1.6 million people tuned into wrestling last night, I should say. So that's interesting. That's a very big number of people tuned into both products. We haven't gotten to talk about ratings in a while, and me and AJ try to clarify. It's not really like we're not into it in terms of like, oh, we won or we lost, but it is promising to see AEW do such a great number. I'm sure for someone like Kira, she probably doesn't even care at all. She's a very pretty much casual fan. I'm sure the ratings conversation just doesn't mean much to her. But to anyone within wrestling and just knowing the history of the ratings war between WWE and other companies, it is interesting for us, but it's just more or less fun that AEW is doing such a promising number. More people are tuned in, and that's just always better overall.
It's cool to know.
I checked into it, and I think we barely cracked the top 10 because they did get a lot of 900,000s.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
Early on, I think
now.
they had like a 1.4 and then 1.1 and then a couple 900,000s after that. But I don't want to say, Kira, that you don't care. I'm not sure if you know, but a lot of wrestling Twitter cares too much. They get really into like haha. It becomes like this war type of situation where people really get like rude to each other. And that's basically what I mean when I say you don't care. It's not obviously not that serious to anyone here, but it is fun to discuss and fun to know that they're doing well.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And something else that they're doing well, depending on how you look at it, I suppose, is this women's tag team tournament. If you think that they are not giving it enough attention on television, it's hard to disagree with that. But if you think that it's promising that they gave it its own YouTube series, then you might appreciate that fact. What did you guys think of this show? Did you think that the show... We'll get into it and talk about the two matches in a second, but what did you think about them putting it on YouTube by itself?
Well, on Twitter last night...
Let
what?
Kira talk first for once.
All right, Kira, go for it.
At first, I was so mad. I was like, fuck this show. I'm not watching that. Like, I'm not watching AEW anymore. But then, like... Obviously, I still wanted to watch the women's to support, and then I saw Nyla Rose's tweet about how she said, we have our own show, like, still, like, if you want to help, watch it, and then Brandy also did an interview. I tweeted that article on our Twitter, talking about how, like, just talking about her decisions on why they wanted it on YouTube, and now I'm like, okay, it's cool, and she gets it. And they are making strides to make the women's division better. So
just not on television.
Yeah, but I am excited. Hopefully this does start some kind of movement or, advances their careers more and gets a storyline somewhere. I just wish they mentioned it last night because I don't even really think they talked about it at all.
They did
the bottom banner, yeah.
Just like AEW Dark Results.
They
basically didn't even happen as far as they were concerned.
That was insane to me. I was tweeting last night, live tweeting on the show, and I asked people, with so few matches on last night's show, do you feel like the tournament should have been put on Dynamite? And somebody said that because it's on YouTube, that gives them a better quality of matches. And I think that's a really flimsy excuse, though. I feel like quality of matches, really? We're having a title match on the show. We're having a 17-minute opener. You can have these quality of matches. And nothing on that tournament even came close to 17 minutes or 15 minutes. So it seems really odd to me that it's not on TV. You're doing a big cup. You have Medusa coming out to announce it. You have all the pomp and circumstance on YouTube. That's cool. But at the end of the day, like, you're not promoting it. It's dark. That's what it is. It's AEW Dark with women. And that's not a way to promote your women. That's not a way to support the whole entire company. That's not a way to compete. If you're trying to compete with NXT's women division, you're not going to do it by doing it
I don't
that
know
way.
if they even are at this point because, and I don't think that they're wrong for doing it this way because the matches themselves, while they were good, they weren't great. they were just serviceable matches. You know what I mean? I don't. You guys both.
That's
we
fair.
all watched the matches. It's not like they were the best or the worst matches. Now, if they're on Dynamite, they probably are even shorter because you said they weren't 15-minute classics, but they were about 8, almost 10 minutes each. So on Dynamite, they're probably getting 5 minutes each, and it's going to be probably even worse. You don't get as much shine for the women you do want to give shine to. Instead, we got almost 500,000 people that tuned into this episode of the Deadly Draw, is what they're calling it, which was an interesting concept, and I was more upset with how they did one thing in particular, which we could talk about in a second. But overall, I think they did a good job at promoting the women the best they can, because I don't want to say that their women's division is awful, but to say that their women's division is a home run at this point in terms of talent isn't fair. Like, they're not. It's not the most talented, deep women's division. So rather than put them on television,
more practice, and then they.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Better.
This is practice without putting it on television, but still where people can see it. They can promote it. You can get to know these women. They're not the best still, so you don't want them to be on TV having those awful matches. AJ and Phil, you guys have seen them, where we've seen awful women's matches in Impact or on Raw in the past. You know what I'm like? I can't think of the name of the matches off the top of my head, but there have been awful ones. And we don't want AEW to get that same type of stigma that Impact had for a while, that WWE had for a long while with the Divas division. So doing it this way is a safe way to do it. But I do understand your frustration, AJ. It's just like looking at the talent they're using for this. I understand going about it this way, not putting them on television, finding a way to edit the matches, make them look as good as possible, give them plenty of time to work, able to get shine on people that we maybe never heard of, or like Tay Conti looked pretty good. Like they did.
I think they were all great.
Yeah, and
maybe
and I'm not saying they did bad. I just think that for what they want to put on television, I understand being hesitant and wanting the product to first grow and then put it on television. But as fans, it's okay to be frustrated that it's not on TV, because they should have mentioned it. They should have talked about it. There should have been a promo package hyping up the matches that happened to make you want to see it. The fact that there's 500,000 views is a testament to the fact the fans want this. It's not a testament to the fact that they're promoting it the way it should be. And so they should see that and promote it more, and maybe more fans will tune in. I bet they would, because that's a great number for a show that wasn't heavily promoted. We didn't know it was going to be on YouTube till a week ago. And granted, it did have the stronger women's names in the division. I'm cautiously excited for the next episode, because I want to see who the next 8 women to get an opportunity on this show will be. These were fresh, different faces. Like I said, the matches weren't bad. Kira really liked them. And that's good. Like, that's how it should be. That's what we should be getting from these matches. Like, this is good. The one thing I didn't like was somehow Brandy and what is her name?
Oh God, Allie.
Brandy and Allie somehow magically became partners. And I understand that Allie, it seemed like she looked in there and cheated, but it didn't look as blatant. It didn't look as blatant enough to me.
We're talking, and she goes, "I got red too."
But either way, I didn't love it, but it's okay, because they want them to be a team in it. It's totally fine. I just really hope they don't win off of that, because I liked the concept of random pairings and stuff like that. And so to have the winners of this type of tournament at the very beginning be 2 people who were already a team before, I wouldn't love that. Otherwise, this is fun so far. There really is nothing to complain about. Oh, I can complain about Penelope Ford losing early, but otherwise, that's it. Like, this was fun. And that's just because I'm a Penelope Ford fan. Like, I get why it happened, but I was bummed when I saw it coming.
No, go on, Kira.
They had good screen time, though, and good representation. I really did how Mel and Penelope worked together. I also liked how Tay Conti and Anna Jay worked together. I think I hope they stay in the same team. They seem to really just, work cohesively.
Anna Jay was
together.
interesting at the end, too. I don't know if you guys remember, but she did a little bit of an interview, and it wasn't the greatest interview, but they were asking about Dark Order, and she was like, I don't want to talk about that. Let's just talk about the tournament. And I think what they're doing with her could be something interesting. I think that's the budding of something very, very different. We've not really seen something like this in wrestling, and at least in the mainstream wrestling scene. So that was cool. I thought Tay Conti, like you said, and Anna Jay were a great team. Yeah, this was fun. And having Penelope Ford lose that match to the Nightmare Sisters wasn't the worst decision in the world, because I did have hope that maybe they would lose early on. And that's what I want from matches. Like, maybe they would lose to Penelope Ford because she is so talented and has won so many good matches. I wasn't super sold on it, but I wasn't then going into the match being like, oh, they're going to win easily. So this was a fun, really good first example of what they're going to do with this women's show, which is it's fine. And hopefully they can get it even to be a little bit better. But what they've done thus far is fine.
I think that's the problem with me, though. What you said earlier is that you even had a women's segment on AEW last night, and there was not even a commentary shout out like, "Hey, we have a tournament going on YouTube."
Yeah.
Like nothing. Like,
well, they couldn't, AJ, because that segment lasted like 3 minutes.
that's less than.
It really should have just been a promo video. You know what I mean? It really should have been like a 3-minute at least, maybe even 4 or 5 minutes, just hyping up the matches that happened and giving you the best parts. You know, if you guys can think back to when we used to watch Road 2, and they would show right after a pay-per-view, they would show the highlight reel of the matches that happened on the pay-per-view, and we'd get it from a different perspective and shit. If they did something like that for the women, this women's tag team match, and put that on Dynamite, people wouldn't have to watch the whole match. They could see that and then go want to watch it. So that's the only thing where I was really disappointed there.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird that during the match with Mel and Penelope, they seem to like have this story of she's still keeping this grudge against Brandy for shaving her head. But wasn't that like months ago? Her hair would have been at least grown back a little bit since then. Like, she's still shaving her head, obviously.
Yeah, it's a dedicated decision at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, I don't understand like how. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but maybe that'll grow into a storyline too. Like, I don't know, but I was shocked when they basically won. Like, they pinned Brandy down, but the ref was too distracted. I thought that was like.
Yeah, that was interesting to do with the Nightmare Sisters, who were supposed to be like the main attraction of this tournament.
It keeps
And
Penelope strong a little bit, though, you know?
It does. Yeah. I guess that's make right. The Nightmare Sisters,
actually,
it's like the TNT title tournament where it's like, I know they're going to the finals. Like, there's not a chance they're not. And like, that's really upsetting to do that in a tournament where I kind of want to be surprised.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, Andrew, it was actually Mel who was pinning Brandy clean. And I guess it makes sense that
and then
they're like doing a double turn randomly just to do it. Like, Brandy suddenly is like, oh, I'm the big star. I always knew I was this good.
That was hilarious.
And Aew, who has been a totally unlikable character after this point, you feel sympathetic for her. Like,
I think it's probably because they're both
like
more natural at those positions. You know what I mean? Like, they probably have seen that Aew isn't too believable as this mean, evil, like heelish character, but Brandy kind of is. And in the position that Brandy's in the company, it's kind of hard to look at her as anything but that, the way it goes. So they've set it up really well with that. And I thought they did a good job there. So overall, I thought the women's show wasn't bad. I think that they've done well with it. They just, if you're going to do it, why do it and not promote the living hell out of it? Like, it should be on everything. There should be all kinds of stuff associated with it. Like, there should have been brackets put out so people could fill out bracket, like shit to just get people into it. You know what I mean? And it, like they've done with every other tournament and stuff like that, rather than just, hey, we're doing this thing, but we're not going to tell you when. It's just this summer, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's happening. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised that Nyla didn't win, though. I mean, at first, I guess, but now it kind of makes sense because her and Ariane didn't really get along.
Yeah.
Oh, when they came out, when Miss Andrews came out, first thing I said to Kira, because she watched it first without me, so she already knew what happened, so she was watching it with me again. I said I wanted Nyla to beat the crap out of her, and I did get my wish.
Yeah, but he thought she was gonna win.
Yeah.
And like,
well, I wanted her to hit her with a beast bomb, and she didn't do that. And even after she beat her up, I wanted her the beast bomb, and it didn't happen. I don't know why.
Yeah, she could have probably beat her up a little more, but I guess it's fine. Like, I don't know.
I actually think that if they had the international women here doing something like this, it would be on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it still would have been on YouTube, totally inexcusable and just awful. But I think it's because of what Andrew said earlier. You Yeah, all those people, B Priestley,
Yeah.
I think that's part of
Rio.
the reason why they put it on YouTube, because a lot of these girls are kind of like newer to wrestling. So
Yeah.
you know,
It's a
she's
safer
gonna
way
give
to
them
go about it.
experience.
You know what I mean? And it
The
works
only
out.
real thing that
So.
that's the only plausible justification I could think of for that.
But it
'Cause
doesn't
just seems,
justify the lack of promo, like AJ said. So I do agree. I do hope that they can learn from this and will realize that they need to promote it more in the coming weeks. There should be segments dedicated to this on every Dynamite, but we'll have to see. It seems to be when we talk about it, they do it the next week. So hopefully.
Yeah.
Is what is happening at All Out? Is Sheeta the only woman that's gonna be fighting?
she's mad about.
I'm like just curious because it's All Out, but then that whole video they showed like MJF, they showed the best friends, they showed Jericho, they show all these men, and then they show like 2 clips of Sheeta, and then there's like Audrey. Those are the only girls that are in the video. Is no one else? Is it just gonna be the men's show again?
I assume Big Swole and Britt Baker will happen by then.
In that promo.
No, they
and
didn't.
then after that they showed like the AW Heels promo, which was cool. I like that.
Well, to answer your question, Kira, for better or for worse,
Probably.
the men are the main attraction of wrestling.
Well, and they might finish up. I don't know how it would add up in terms of weeks, but they might finish up this tag team tournament at All Out, and then they might do Britt Baker versus Big Swole at All Out, and then a women's title match. So, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, there will probably be one of them on the pre-show without a doubt, but nonetheless, it seems like at the very least they're building up to that. Now, if they do, they could finish it off at one of these shows they have scheduled because they've changed up the schedule. We're actually supposed to talk about that next, so we might as well talk about it now. Due to the NBA, we knew this was coming, but we thought it was actually going to happen a lot sooner. Fortunately, COVID delayed that as long as humanly possible. But now, at least for the moment, AEW is going to be rescheduled on Wednesday, August 19th. It will air instead on Saturday, August 22nd. So not next week's Dynamite, but the following week's Dynamite will air on a couple-day delay. It will actually air opposite of TakeOver. So you will have an opportunity to watch NXT TakeOver 30 or Dynamite. So they're going to have to put on a hell of a card that night because they are also competing with the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. There's a UFC show that night. So it's a dangerous night for them to be on. It's not going to be the best ratings turnout, I imagine. But if they do a decent number at all, it'll be something worth talking about. Then they have also, what is it? They're going to do a show on Wednesday the 26th, but they will also do a show on Thursday the 27th, the next day. So there's going to be a basketball game and on the 26th on Wednesday. So Dynamite's going to air on a delay that night. That's going to be weird. I don't know if they're going to do a full 2-hour show, if they're going to do a condensed show.
I thought the Wednesday show on the 26th was being moved to the 27th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then which week are they doing 2 shows on one show on Wednesday and one show on Thursday?
The 22nd and the 27th because it's going to be in the same week.
Oh.
The 22nd? No, AJ. I'm not talking about the Saturday show. Saturday, they talked about, and I might be totally off, but on the Observer, they talked about how there's going to be a show on Wednesday and on Thursday. So either they misspoke or this thing is written all fucked up. But either way, they're changing up the whole schedule due to the NBA. We knew this was going to happen, so it's interesting.
To answer your question, Andrew, the big UFC event is actually on the 15th, Stipe against Cormier 3.
Okay.
On the 22nd, they are running a show, but it's one of those fight night shows where, it's
still
a one...
cuts into the Dynamite viewers.
It's not like a must-see event.
Neither is Dynamite compared to Fight Night and compared to TakeOver. I mean, that's Saturday is going to be awful. They're going to do like 500,000 at best.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's going to be a weird week. I'm not totally sure on all of it. As I said, I kind of read it the same way AJ and Phil did, but when I was listening to The Observer the other day, they were talking about how there was going to be one on Wednesday and one on Thursday. One right after the basketball game and then leading into a show on that Thursday. So I'm not totally sure. And then they're also going to do a show on a Friday right ahead of All Out to promote that. So they have a ton of shows lined up based upon how it looks. So.
That's not good if we're confused.
No.
Then that's not going to be good for the fans.
You should probably have said something this week instead of dropping it on us next week.
Yeah.
People are gonna forget.
Overall, it's all quite confusing. People will definitely be tuned in that Wednesday and be like, "What the hell is going on?" But you will get the advantage of people who are tuned into basketball. They will obviously promote Dynamite throughout the whole show, so that you might get that. But
I think it's weird to go after a basketball game because what if that game goes into like 4 overtimes or something stupid?
Yeah.
And
that's why I'm overall very confused about it and think that. But I know what they said on the Observer was that they were going to go Wednesday after the basketball game and sort of just promote the Thursday show. But we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. At the very least, they're doing a Thursday show. They're doing a Saturday show. And this was something we were worried about. Once the basketball season really got underway, how was it going to affect AEW? And now we're kind of getting an answer. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, it's not crazy. It's expected, but it's kind of crazy that wrestling and basketball are even on TV. So that it is crazy in some aspect. But in another realm, I really don't know how this is going to affect the ratings. That Saturday show, like you said, it's going to be terrible. There's no doubt about it. And like we said earlier, we don't care about the ratings that much, so we're not going to be going, oh man, AEW lost so hard. We're just going to be like, yeah, of course. But it's interesting for the other shows to see how they'll do when they're not really running against anything in particular.
Yeah.
And one other note, we've gotten off of the ratings a little bit, but you did just mention it. So I want to say AEW apparently beat Raw in the demo. So the demo god is killing it. He is legit in full effect. Shout out to our boy Chris Jericho.
So are we saying that we beat Raw?
Yeah, what do you mean? Are we saying we beat Raw? Hey Joseph, I know you're out there shitting on AEW somewhere. We beat Raw in the demo, bro. So
he's the only one in our group that really cares about the ratings, so we like to throw it in his face when they lose basically every week.
Basically every week, yes. And now even Raw is losing in the demo. So big ups to Joseph. But yeah, this whole schedule change thing, I totally get it. I'm not mad about it, but it's very confusing, even for us. For the listeners, sorry if I came across as confusing and gave you misinformation there. But I'm just repeating what I heard from the Observer. Meltzer's usually right, but I would not be surprised if this is the instance where he was confused just as I am now. So who knows? Two Dynamites in back-to-back days sounds very crazy. So if they do that, I hope it's just like promo videos to hype up the Thursday night show. That's all I would do, because like Phil said, what if it goes into quadruple overtime? What do you show after that? AEW highlights, I guess. So
yeah,
that pretty much wraps up all the news we had to talk about. Right now, we can jump into Dynamite. Is there anything else I'm forgetting, AJ?
No, sir.
I probably am, but we will jump into Dynamite. Well, this is related to Dynamite. On last week's episode, I want to say we talked about how they had a 4-man booth, and boy, were we wrong. I guess for some reason I swore I heard Excalibur the whole night long. Excalibur was nowhere to be seen. He was also nowhere to be seen on this week's episode, correct, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's confusing is that he's still on Dark, and I guess maybe that's why I thought he was there. Because they taped those probably way in advance, so we were still around on that episode of Dark I'd watched right before then.
Remember when Excalibur was gonna be part of the triangle?
Yeah.
Remember the bastard? I forgot about him.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people did.
Yeah. But this is, it's interesting, Excalibur being pulled off. If you looked at any dirt sheets, you know why. It's kind of a strange thing to me. I imagine, especially because I just imagine he's going to come back in a couple weeks. They're just going to let it play through the social media shitstorm and bring him back. And maybe it's a smart way to do it. I don't think that this is something that they need to address because it's so old. He has addressed it. He's apologized for it. It's been a controversial situation. Kira, are you not privy to what we're talking about?
No, she doesn't know.
So in a way to explain it, the reason Excalibur hasn't been on is because recently on social media, a clip from probably 10, 15 years ago, where Excalibur was still a wrestler, he was cutting a promo on an African American wrestler and used the N-word. This was the thing about it is the wrestler who he's cutting the promo on literally asked him to say it. it doesn't excuse it, but it was obviously 15 years ago, so it was a long time ago. But and they've consistently said he felt bad for it afterwards. He and a wrestler in WWE, actually Kevin Owens, both did this, and they both have since apologized for it. It was meant to be like some controversial angle. I guess the wrestler was trying to play up that type of situation, the racial tension, I guess. And it was in a very like carny independent company with like 200 people there. They didn't expect it would turn into the shitstorm it came out to be years later. And now that it's blown up on social media once again, 15 years later, Excalibur has requested to be pulled off TV. As far as I've understood it, this wasn't a punishment. This was him asking to be pulled off TV. So
that's crazy because
Stupid.
that guy told him to call him that. And, and it was 15 years ago, and he I don't know.
I think it's more so Excalibur he saw it blow up in the social media and just wants it to blow over. And this is the easiest way to do it. Not really addressing it at all, pulling him off the TV so people aren't constantly saying, AEW, why do you have this racist commentator? But I do agree that it's kind of to pull up.
It was only like his character that said it, so it's not even like him himself said it, and it wasn't like he chose, like someone told him to say it. I don't get
I wish I could really say my opinions on this situation, but I won't.
That sounds negative.
You might as well now, because people are just going to assume way worse than whatever you actually mean. So
that's all right. It's okay. So, anyways.
Okay.
Okay, people can think that you're racist for no apparent reason. That's cool.
Oh no, I just think that if you're upset about that, then you're
I agree with you, but that's why you should emphasize on it a little bit more. Like if you're someone who takes something from 15 years ago and you know the context of it and you're still taking it this seriously, then you're ridiculous. And I agree with Phil that it's stupid. You're a loser. You're getting worked up over something that is so stupid.
It's like if somebody played a racist character on TV, or does that make them racist in real life?
Exactly.
Yes. So that's why I just wanted you to expand on it a little bit so people didn't make their own inferences about what you might have meant. That's all. So our commentary team this week instead is Tony, Jim Ross, and Taz. Who knows if Excalibur will ever be back? I really hope so. Like Phil said, he's still on Dark, so it doesn't seem like they're trying to remove him entirely. I could see him coming back at All Out, just doing a pay-per-view type of situation, something like that. But I think most within AEW understand the circumstances around it and understand that it was fucking dumb and that it was just something that happened in the past that holding someone accountable for that at this point is silly. So it seems like Excalibur made this choice on his own. So hopefully that's all good and they don't have to go too much further into that and they can just bring Excalibur back soon. But nonetheless, we have a decent team. We had the Dark Order defeating the Elite and FTR in the opening match of the night. They got right to it. This match was about almost 18 minutes, 17 and a half. It was interesting. I thought they kind of touched on something that I thought was interesting, but first I wanted to know what you guys thought about this match.
It was
I was like, okay, it's better than the 5-on-5 that we had the week before. Okay, because that was just a plain old clusterfuck. Okay, that made no sense.
This had some great sequences.
Going on. This had some good sequences. This had some interesting stuff happening. I don't know why 10 was sitting by commentary and this guy who was just dressed in black was in the match. Don't know who he was. Don't know why 10 was
They definitely showed him on the graphic, too, that he was going to wrestle.
They talked about it somewhere. Maybe even, it might not have been Dark, but it might have been the women's show, I think, where they definitely mentioned 10 was wrestling. So
maybe he got hurt. I don't know.
Still hurt.
But
maybe
anyways,
still recovering. But
yeah, they just put a fat guy in a black bodysuit, and he wrestled for a little while.
He was not fat. He was like a little tiny.
He was fat compared to everybody else. I thought he was Evil Uno for a second. Then I remembered that Evil Uno has lost like 50 pounds.
But the match wasn't terrible, and the ending surprised me. I told Phil when we were watching the show, in my notes I wrote FTR and Elite defeat Dark Order, and I hope I don't have to change that because I'm lazy. And I had to change it. Also, FTR getting pulled out of this match because they were hurt was kind of interesting. I like that dichotomy. It wasn't bad. My honest opinion is that it was a bit long for what it was.
It told a good story. I was very frustrated in the first 5 minutes because it looked like a real glorified squash.
Yep.
They were kicking the shit out of the Dark Order. The Dark Order really wasn't doing anything. I was frustrated that it was going so long. I was like, if this is all it's going to be, then just just end it, man. Why are you wasting my time? Then FTR walk away. Hangman comes back. I thought that was lame until they told the story. I had to listen to the whole story, but when he came back, I was like, how dumb. Like, it would make more sense if he just never came back.
What's the whole story?
The whole story is he still came back and ended up taking the pin.
Yeah, that was crazy, because I don't think I've ever seen Hangman get pinned before.
Because
so
he and Kenny aren't on the same page. They had never have been on the same page. It's becoming more apparent in these weeks. And I feel like if you start hurting Adam Page in the win-loss column, he's going to snap.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen. We'll finally get something for this.
It was definitely interesting that Hangman was the guy to take the pin.
Oh, yeah, I definitely didn't expect that. Well, I didn't expect them to win anyway. I was actually, when they were setting Brody up for the finish, I was like, really? Brody's going to lose? And you have this faceless jokester over here? Like, that's the guy who should take the pin.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad he didn't, because that would have really hurt his character.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a point of one, like I said, one of the better sequences of the match where things really started to get going. You had the Young Bucks and working with Kenny Omega and Hangman. Although when those four can start getting together and just beating down 4 or 5 different people with just their sequence of movesets, I thought that was really great. But overall, I thought it was an interesting match. The result definitely interesting with the Dark Order picking up the win. It didn't stick out a lot, but it's something that is interesting to me because we talked about it from the women's show. They talked about Anna Jay just briefly during the 12-man, where they're talking about how she, and like I said, it's very brief. You guys probably didn't even catch it. So it's not a very big deal, but it was interesting because they're talking about how she's just staring through the match. She's kind of dejected so they're continuing to talk about how she is almost like a person in a cult. They referenced her and Ten doing this, but it's more interesting for me with what they're doing with Anna Jay. And like I said, it wasn't during an important part of the match, so I don't think it was some huge segment. But these little hints towards the idea that I feel like Anna Jay is going to be a character who's like a woman stuck in a cult type situation. I could be totally off, but it's interesting.
I kind of expected it to go that route with Colt Cabana, and it seems more like Cabana's kind of embracing it slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of why, too, because when they led away Colt, they also led away Anna Jay, just stuff like that. And the way they referenced her on commentary, briefly showed her, it's like, this is weird. I don't know exactly where they're going with this, but it was something that caught my attention for a brief minute. After that, we get a segment talking about how the best friends, they left Trent's mom's van. They were ready for their match with Pride and Powerful. So this just kind of leads up to a segment later on. But an interesting Easter egg, leading us the way.
I got nothing to say about that.
You got nothing? Yeah, just a segment. So
yeah.
After this, we get Moxley in the back. He's talking about how he struggled early in his career with demons. We actually opened the show with this promo, so we don't have to get too much into it. But it was interesting. I thought it was a great promo talking about just his relation to Darby and the fact that Darby's not going to back down because he just relates to Darby. Him saying that Darby's his favorite person in AEW, I thought was really interesting. Like, they're building this relationship between two characters who do make sense on paper, but not just forcing it to only be that. In WWE, for example, when there are two people who make sense as partners, they do put them together, but they don't explain why. They don't build upon it. Here we're getting a building upon it. We're understanding that Darby's Mox's favorite character in the company, and he wants to help him out, and he wants to tell him to stay down, and all this cool shit. And then it leads to a great match at the end of the show. Like, this was a really good way to set this up, and just a good way to get us excited for a good match.
I know, we talk about him promoing every week, and it's kind of a little repetitive. This was a great promo. I think it was one of his better ones in AEW. I can't really, though, shake the feeling, when you play EWR and you really want that great show rating, so you put your best promo on just to cut a promo to get that 100%. I feel like that's what they do just to have a good
It's
segment.
a classic formula, man. It's a good way to utilize your champion without having to have them wrestle every week and potentially lose like happens in other places. You know what I mean? So it really does work. So.
Yeah, I love this promo. I really thought I'm still waiting, and I tweeted this out. I'm still waiting for the Killer Mox promo. I'm still waiting for him to go crazy on the mic. But I feel like we're inching closer and closer, and this is kind of building up towards that. What's going to happen when he does have to face off with MJF?
I like this piece of Mox just as much. Like, it's not a killer promo, but to be introduced to just a characteristic side of Mox that isn't just killing and destroying people. Yeah, like almost like looking at Darby as a little brother. Like that's how it felt to me, like a little brother who had been through the same type of shit, and you don't want to see him go through it, but at the same time, you're going to be the one who has to put him through it because you're the champion and he's coming for your shit and you have no choice. Like in the world of wrestling, that is as little brother as you can get. So to get that element from Mox in this way without him having to be this evil character is so cool because it's like, it's just a variety. It shows his ability to just do different things.
Yeah, he definitely has like a diverse ability of how he can go about on promoing. And I'm not knocking this at all. I love this promo. I thought he did a great job. I'm just saying, when he gets to promoing against MJF, I think that's when you're going to turn the gas on.
Yeah.
Is he not your champion?
I don't know. He's still not my champion.
He's not my champion. MJF is my champion.
MJF is my champion. But it was a good night for your champion. I'll give you that.
I think it would be like, yeah, I mean, I like him as the champion, and I just don't like MJF as a character.
He's getting into, I'll tell you this.
I mean...
No, yeah. Go ahead. Keep going.
I don't like MJF as a character, but I guess it would be nice to have, like, a change, and he'd probably be very good at it. And be so in your face about it and obnoxious the way he is. So it would be annoying, but he makes it entertaining and funny because it's so ridiculous.
That's true. Yeah. And I'll give you this. Mox is really starting to get into form as a champion that I kind of was expecting early on. And now that we have a fake set of fans, like it really helps add a little bit of element to his matches and stuff. And this run that he's on now, beating Brian Cage, beating Darby, having a great match with Darby on top of it. The match with Cage wasn't bad. Like, he's doing good stuff that we kind of expected early on, where he was just facing Jake Hager and Brody, where it wasn't as exciting. Now we're getting exciting stuff, and that's what we wanted from Mox's run. So I still would lean in the realm of I would want MJF to be champion right now, but I can't blame anyone for liking Mox as champion right now because it's turned a lot in the last 2 or 3 weeks, just him on the run that he's on. So,
yeah.
And it might have something to do with Darby, too. Like, those two together are kind of just money, and they don't have to face each other. They could be partners, too. But something about the combination of those two enigmatic characters just makes you excited about what's going on when they were a tag team, when they're helping each other. Like, something about that is special. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
After that, we get commentary running down the card. We then see the Best Friends defeating Proud and Powerful in about 13 and a half minutes. I thought this was interesting because they highlighted the fact that Proud and Powerful was on about a 3-match run. They were finally back in the top 5 and then lose here to the Best Friends. So, and to a roll-up at that. But what'd you guys think of the match?
I wanted Proud and Powerful to win. I thought they needed the win, but... And so at first I was like, I don't mind the Best Friends winning. I really think Proud and Powerful should have gotten the win, though. But now that I see that it's not over, I really don't mind it at all.
Yeah, that was mine.
It was a great match. They had a great showing. Everybody was really on their game tonight. Chuck Taylor specifically was really bringing it in the ring. He was kind of carrying, and I really like that. It's surprising because normally it's the opposite. You really got to see a good side of Chuck Taylor. Really liked this match. Thought they did a great job, and especially seeing what happened after it, which we'll get into in a minute. I really appreciate the storytelling here.
Yeah, I liked this match. It didn't blow my mind or anything, but my biggest takeaway from it was I was disappointed in the result big time. I mean, obviously that changes because they're telling a story, so it's not just a one-off random match between two teams who are kind of on the same level. I thought Proud and Powerful deserved the win more. Even so, if we're going to tell a story, just because the Best Friends have been featured for a while. They're one of those teams that never really went away during the pandemic. They were a big part of those pandemic shows where you had 20 wrestlers that you had to fill 2 hours with. So I thought it was time for Proud and Powerful to get a big TV win because it seems like they haven't in a while.
Yeah.
But, I like AJ said, I don't mind it now that it's telling a story unless Proud and Powerful is going to keep losing.
Yeah, that part would suck for sure. But I did come out of this match. I was kind of, like you guys, a little bit bummed out by the way they had lost, or the fact that they had lost. It was just a roll-up, so it wasn't like it was a super clean finish where they got dominated and lost. but it was still a loss. And so I was a little bit bummed about it. But at the same time, I was like, Best Friends are kind of OP. Like, they are a team you can no longer think of the way we did early on in AEW, where they were just sort of like an enhancement team almost. Not an enhancement team, but like a glorified enhancement team. They win a lot, but they still are there to put people over. They've beaten a lot of teams. They've beaten a lot of teams, and it's hard to not take them seriously, especially like this was a good victory. Proud and Powerful. They just had a solid victory a couple weeks ago, albeit on Dark, but in a good triple threat tag team match. So this was a good win, and it leads to a story between these two, which I think is even better. Both teams will benefit from this, I feel like, if it plays out the right way. And Proud and Powerful need a storyline, and it's cool because it's like an extra step of the Orange Cassidy and Jericho storyline. Like, it makes sense. These guys are friends with both guys involved in this storyline, so why wouldn't they both kind of fight for each other to keep each other out of it?
Yeah, for sure. And I want to say more, but I know we're going to get into it, and when we get to the what happened with the van. But I really like where this is going, and I like what you said. Like, they kind of are an OP team. Like, they're strong contenders, and they had their tag title match, and even in that title match, it was like, you know what? If this is where Hangman and Kenny turn, I wasn't going to be mad, because I was like, this is a great way to put the Best Friends over. But in hindsight, you didn't even need to, because you've already gotten them over.
Yeah. I think they're definitely just a team that's worth taking serious, if nothing else. Someone else who's worth taking serious, of course, is MJF, the number one contender now. He's going to take on Jon Moxley at All Out, but he, at the point of the promo that he gave on this night, he wasn't sure who he was going to face. He kind of alluded to the idea that he would rather face Darby, but talked about the fact they're leading in the polls. The campaign isn't over until the title's around MJF's waist. I got to say, man, while this political stuff isn't for me, it's kind of smart. Nope. It's kind of smart. I'm not going to dive in too deep of why like it is smart, but they're obviously aiming for an older demographic at points. And during political season, during the time of, like, there's obviously going to be an election in the next couple months, or we expect an election in the next couple months, barring COVID. Maybe. So it makes sense to do stuff like this. People of that age demographic will like this shit and will tune in regardless. So it's not too over the top. That's the thing about it. It's not too leaning left or leaning right. They're still staying pretty much down the middle, but hinting at some shit. So
I don't hate it. I just think it's a little corny. Mm-hmm. But that's not a bad thing, because MJF can make basically anything
people
work.
People love corny shit, though, man.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I'm just saying, for me, it's a little corny. But I don't hate it, because it's MJF. And really, MJF talking, anytime he talks, it's gold. Like, he can turn shit into gold. I don't know how he does it, but he always can.
And it's current,
he's
you know what
really
I mean? Like, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
It's not like it's 2 years out from an election, which we see happen in other companies. Mm-hmm. So this is whatever.
Yeah, I can't get on a soapbox and be like, oh, this sucks because this and that. It's fine. I'm not going to shit all over it.
What do you think about it, Kira?
I thought it was funny that that Lee was separating M&Ms.
I wonder if he looks like he's kind of joining MJF's little group, which could be interesting in and of itself. Like, Lee Moriarty, I think is his name. He's popped up on Dark a couple times. If he just becomes a part of MJF's campaign, even if it's a character for him, like, it's a spot.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm
the
pretty
cabinet.
sure he's the guy that got totally destroyed. I think he got totally destroyed by Brian Cage and Cage's debut, when that was like his best match, just in terms of like how he looked, and that guy took sick bumps, man. He was getting killed.
Yes. So
yeah, there's like some video that I tried to find. Maybe it's on Being the Elite or whatever, but one of the women interviewers was asking him like, "Oh, you used to be like against him, and now you're working with him," and then Wardlow shows up, so he's got to like talk him up. Oh yeah, MJF is actually like blue, like pretty great, or like. Oh, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, she's been watching Being the Elite recently.
I watched like an episode or whatever. I also...
You were laughing hysterically at something. I didn't watch it with you, but you really enjoyed something.
Yeah, there was some funny... It was pretty funny.
Save it for the must-see moments of...
I mean, believe it or not, we used to watch Being the Elite every week and talk about it on the podcast, because there was no TV.
Yeah.
Like, when there was no TV show, that's what we used to do.
True that.
Well,
we would deep dive and overanalyze every segment.
And it was good shit, man. And it still is, and we were always deep dive and analyze about when the next guy we got to talk about was coming in, Matt Hardy. He was in the ring. He's talking about how he came to AEW to feel respected. He said that in the direction of his career he's going for, he wants to try and stop being so many different personas. Well, he wanted to keep being these different personas, but the audience apparently wants him to stop, which I thought was really interesting because we have no audience. He has no way to gauge this.
Twitter, brother.
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about?
I mean,
Social
I
media.
know that-
Going on
I
the
think
social
everyone
media,
wants
yeah.
him to be one, but I don't think anyone just wants him to be Matt.
Yeah, no, I definitely remember saying last week, either pick one of those or a new one, or...
And we'll see how the new one plays out, I guess. But in the promo he was giving, I was like, and I understand what you guys are saying, but I don't agree with what he's saying. In the fact, like, we don't necessarily want you to stop being personas. Just pick one and be that one. And for me, the one that I want is the broken one with all the fucking cool shit at your house. You don't even got it. You don't even got to go to Florida. So it's like...
I want Big Money Matt.
Yeah.
I do want Big Money Matt, too. Fuck.
I liked when he had them all, but I thought that, like, they just took over him and, like, he had no control over it. But then I feel like he broke, like, a wall when he talked about how, like, you know, he was trying to be a character. Like, I feel like...
Yeah.
I don't know what
and
that
then the
word
tough
is.
thing is too is because I watched Being the Elite this week, and they kind of played into this and referenced this fact that he wasn't being this character, and then he still showed up as the characters to basically bitch at the Young Bucks, who I imagine were playing the character of wrestling Twitter, where he's just yelling at them, talking about why he is not being the characters that they want him to be. And I thought that was really great and really interesting, but for it to not be on the actual TV show kind of it's like, where is the purpose there?
I could do without that.
Oh, I guess you're being the elite again.
I don't mind.
It's just Being the Elite just
Matthew
adds in
Hardy.
a little bit more depth to it. It's not just him cutting a promo and saying, "Hey, I'm not going to be this character." It's him being the characters, explaining why he's not going to be the characters. And I didn't explain it so great. So Phil, you might actually enjoy it if you saw it, but you know how it comes when I break shit down sometimes.
I really don't mind him being Matthew Hardy, regular old Matt. As long as it leads to just something interesting, like, because that's where the crux of this is. Like, where are you going to go with it? And obviously, they're going to put it in the Sammy Guevara direction, and I think that could work. I mean, Sammy's such a great talent, and Matt has so much to give. Still, I feel like it could work out, but I don't know after that where you go with it. I don't know, because he's not Chris Jericho.
And you could have done the broken character with Sammy the same way. That's where I'm kind of thrown off by it all.
I totally hear you. I'm not saying it's my
but
preference.
I will wait
but I
and
don't
see.
mind
Yeah,
it.
I will wait and see. He continued to talk about how Private Party, he has their back. He wants to help them out off screen. He wanted to also help Sammy, but Sammy didn't want his help. He said that Sammy gave him the middle finger, so he got his revenge on him when Sammy finally returned, which was kind of interesting. Then we get Sammy coming out, jumping him, and then throwing a freaking steel chair at the face of Matt Hardy, busting him open.
Yeah.
I wasn't watching the show live, but I saw the tweet live from Matt's wife saying, "What the fuck?" And I didn't know what had happened until today. And then I put the two together immediately when I saw Matt bleeding. I was like, oh, that's when that tweet was sent. Immediately after that.
Kira, that's called hard
Yeah,
way.
people were pissed about this apparently backstage, had to talk to Sammy, so...
Yeah, the term is hard way. It means that he wasn't supposed to be busted open. It just happened.
Oh my god.
Yeah, your boy Sammy got another lecture this week.
There was a report this morning saying that people had to talk to Sammy backstage for getting wild with the chair.
Yeah, because I feel like...
Hey, man, I'll say it.
In movies, when you see that much blood, they're, like, dead. They're bleeding out of their head. Like, that was a lot of blood.
I didn't even notice he was busted open until the table broke and the part with all the blood just, like, splats up like this.
Yeah.
The place. I felt like, man, you can yell at Sammy all you want, but it makes me care about it more. I mean, if he just puts him through a table,
it makes me care about it like 5 times more, even, because knowing that apparently Sammy got yelled at backstage too, like it adds even that part adds a little element to it. You know, when they have their match, if Matt gets his revenge and is able to bust Sammy open the same way, it'll add that element of like, yeah, fuck yeah, you deserve it. So it did add something. You're 100% right, Phil. It's similar to the Sean Spears one, remember?
Yeah, that didn't go anywhere though.
No, it didn't. But it was.
It
cool
made
at the
you
time.
care about him at the time, is what I'm
Of
saying.
course you thought
so.
it was cool at the time. You're the only person.
Did you not? Did you not think that chair shot was fucking baller?
It was.
It was pretty cool.
So and in a way this one was, but you do have to feel for Matt in this situation. Like when you're working with a younger wrestler, you don't want them to be careless and reckless like this. So it is unfortunate in that situation. I'm sure Sammy obviously didn't mean for it to go that way, but even in moments of adrenaline, you got to be smart about what you're doing. And launching a chair that way at someone's face isn't smart, and they kind of do it a lot in AEW. So maybe this is a good time to not just sit down Sammy, but talk to everyone. Like, you guys launch chairs all the fucking time, and this is what happens. So
I feel like this story would have gone in a different direction if Sammy didn't get suspended. I felt like Sammy was going to turn or something.
Yeah.
He had a little not friction with the Inner Circle, but it just seemed like he was kind of the odd man
even
out.
without him busting Matt like this, I might still think like, oh, he's gonna turn eventually.
Yeah.
This makes me believe he's never gonna turn. Like this.
Yeah.
I'm like.
Yeah. I also feel like people certain people aren't ready to cheer for him yet, just because of everything that's happened.
And
so
now
it's
even
better
more so, you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
So this was an interesting
Maybe
segment.
Private Party will go against him and
2-on-1.
Jericho. No, I mean. I don't know. He's teamed with Jericho,
I would love
right?
for him
Maybe
to be the last
yeah.
man standing by Jericho. Like, everyone turns their back on Jericho but Sammy. He's just the one who's like, I've been here with you forever.
I would love that, yeah.
I would like if Jake Hager was the last one, because Jake Hager is a singles competitor I really don't care about anything.
I don't know.
I could name three people who does the Jake Hager thing better.
I think we might be saying the same thing. I'm saying I don't want Jake Hager around, but yeah.
Okay. He could go away.
Aww.
Apparently, he draws ratings though.
Hey,
so.
we're wrong. They're right.
We the people.
That's pretty cool.
Something else that draws ratings is Trent's mom's car, but it might not going forward because Proud and Powerful beat the shit out of it with a sledgehammer. They spray painted it. They threw the sledgehammer through the windshield. So just continuing on with this situation between the Best Friends and Proud and Powerful. You guys want to talk about this? They did cut a promo that I'll play here in a minute after we talk about this match, if not.
I just thought it was really, really well done. I like when they brought out Sue's car in the beginning. I was like, oh, that's cute. They're doing it again. I didn't even cross my mind.
They've turned this car
Proud
into a great
Powerful
prop.
We're gonna totally destroy this. Yeah, it was great.
I would have liked to see even better if Sue was there. I mean, you don't have to you don't have to put your hands on
her in the
her,
car
but you could,
while it's getting
intimidate her.
destroyed.
She could be crying, like, "Oh my God, my car! Please stop!"
That's so
Get
fucked
the fuck
up.
out of here! I swear to
Or
God, I'll
Sue.
hurt you. They don't have to put their hands on her, but it would have made it more emotionally
Not
connected to
only
the
does
audience.
Phil want this poor woman's car to be destroyed,
Oh
but he
my
wants her to
God.
have to act it out too. Like, she wouldn't give a fuck. She would just be like, "I'm getting a new car," but then she has to act now like she cares. Like, I get what you're saying though. Give that extra experience. I like what they're doing here though.
Is it?
No,
What?
they destroy cars all the
No,
time.
yeah.
Tony Khan.
She
is
has no
earning money.
love for this car.
It was a Honda. Does that mean they were sponsoring them or something?
No.
Probably
They
not.
They showed the thing.
No. What?
Don't you have to pay? That's
Product
product
placement.
placement?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
There
when
you
they
go.
had beers the other day, they had the Miller Lights or whatever, and they had to exit out.
Yeah, so they
Yeah.
didn't X out the Honda. Maybe Kira's right.
She's on to something.
After that segment, we got the match with Cody and Matt Cardona defeating Alex Reynolds and John Silver.
Yeah.
This match was whatever. Alex Reynolds and John Silver actually got a little bit of offense in here and looked okay. But I just didn't care much about it because I never had a feeling that Cody and Matt were going to lose. Eventually, at the end, Cardona gets the upper hand, picks up the victory. So, yeah. Post-match.
Phil.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, Phil talks a lot about glorified squash matches, and you could call this one, but really it was just a very long squash match.
Yeah.
And
John
that
Silver's
makes it
pretty
worse.
That man, he looked good.
He looks great.
Yeah. They're actually a really good team.
Yeah, they had a sequence during this match that was really good where they were beating up Cody and just did some good tag team shit. So
I first noticed them when they fought Will Hobbs and Sean Dean, I think his name is, the
classic
captain.
on Dark.
They were hitting some really crazy stuff on them, and ever since then they've really caught my attention. I don't mind seeing them. I wish they would get a few wins so I could care about them a little more. But in ring, I don't mind seeing them face off against people.
Yeah,
Right.
but I mean,
On Dark,
what are
they
you gonna do?
did tell them that this was going to be a squash match, so I was a little disappointed that it was 11 and a half minutes. They did a segment on Dark where Reynolds and Silver were pretending to read the Bible. The Young Bucks come up and start talking to them. They're like, we're Christian AF too, bro. And then the Young Bucks expose them for not being Christian and tell them that they're going to get a squash match on Dynamite, which they assume is going to be them squashing someone. Turns out they were getting squashed by Cody and Matt Cardona. So not what they expected. An interesting little segment for Dark that I then took and carried to Dynamite. So if you watch, not Dark, I'm sorry, Being the Elite. If you watch Being the Elite, then you do get like a little bit more to it. But it's not something you have to watch. So in watching it this week, it added a little bit to these segments on Dynamite where I was like, oh, this is a squash match. And that's where it was interesting because they kind of told you before it was going to be a squash, but then gave them a lot in the match. So, but they still fucking lost. So who cares?
Yeah, it was one of those that you don't really have to pay attention to because you're like, how is Cody gonna win to these? I don't even know who. It was just two randos. Like, was it number 5 and
no,
number?
it's John
they've
Silver and
got-
Alex Reynolds. They've been around. They've been down since day one. They're OGs.
All right.
But still, it wasn't much. After the match, Cody goes to leave, gets a stare down from Scorpio Sky, setting up a match between these two. I guess we care about that, but we'll talk about that when we run down next week's card. We get one more best friends segment. They're outside with the van. They're all pissed off. Trent says you can do anything you want to them, but you're not going to mess with his mom's van. Then they say if they wanted a rematch, all they had to do was ask. Chuck said, not only did you beat up my best friend's mom's van, but you also made me look like a liar because I promised her I wouldn't fuck up the van. So this was a good little promo from them. And they say that after they beat them again, that they're going to apologize to Sue via speakerphone. So, Phil, you will not get to see his mom again. She will not be anywhere near this dangerous situation.
Definitely a missed opportunity.
But like we said, this is a good little build to a storyline I wasn't really expecting, but this would be a great match for All Out. I'm not going to lie. A good undercard tag team match between two really great teams, so I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Totally agree. Think that would be a great match for All Out. And if it happened sooner than All Out, I don't really mind that either. I just want to see them go at it.
Yes, absolutely. So good build to something that's fun. And as long as they get to have a good match with a solid finish, I'll be really happy with this little storyline they're doing here. Another storyline that I'm pretty happy with is this AEW debate, or not the debate, but Orange Cassidy versus Jericho, I should say. The debate, you either loved it or hated it. I'm pretty sure you guys all liked it. What do you think?
I loved it. I thought this was the highlight of the show. I really didn't expect anything out of it, and maybe that's why I liked it so much, because I was like, oh, Orange Cassidy's going to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That's going to be the end of it, and then they're going to beat each other up. But he did the global warming thing, which popped me hard. And then he actually promoted on him. He actually started speaking, and I don't think I've ever heard Orange Cassidy actually give a promo, and it was good. It was like, I was like, right on, man. You're gonna fuck him up, and like, you're gonna embarrass him. And this isn't his. This is Orange Cassidy's biggest match of his life, but this is Chris Jericho's biggest match of his life, because if Chris Jericho fucks this up, then he's the loser here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I really like this.
I like how Jericho said he pointed out that the jacket sometimes, like every week, it seems to get oranger somehow because of something you must have put in the orange juice. I thought it was just me that thought that it looks oranger every time. Like, literally just pouring more on it every week or something.
Definitely,
like,
which is great. Like, that's just a fucking great little piece to this. Like, it's such a fun, serious but comedic storyline all wrapped into one that is really helping elevate a guy who was already pretty much up there. You know what I mean? Like, this sort of solidifies Orange Cassidy, especially if he can pick up a victory next week and maybe lead to a rubber match at All Out. I would really like to see them go with it that way.
Yeah.
They've built it up really well. They found a way to I think we questioned it early on. How are they going to make this storyline last to All Out? this is how, and they've done a solid job with it. I didn't love the Eric Bischoff stuff, and some of the whole debate wasn't my shtick because it was just very long. And I, in terms of, we talked about how we wanted to see a promo package for the women. If we got one less question and a 5-minute promo package for the women, I would have no complaints here. But that's all. Otherwise, this was a solid segment. I could see where some people don't love the comedy in it, but I thought it was great. And it did good ratings. Like they promoted a fucking debate and people tuned in, man. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm usually somebody who doesn't really like overloaded of comedy in my wrestling. This didn't seem like overly comedic at all. It was like very fluid.
It's like serious comedy because it's wrestling. You know what I mean? Like it's all serious shit, but it comes across as funny because of who Orange Cassidy is, what show we're watching. But it's all serious shit. So I definitely agree with you. It's not much comedy, but it's comedy.
I liked Eric Bischoff too. He wasn't too intrusive. I think that's a guy who, I mean, I wouldn't want to see him on TV every week, but that's somebody who they could like use in in a consultant role. You know, he doesn't have to have like creative control or anything, but just he's been in the business for what seems like forever.
Well, let's not go there.
I
like Eric Bischoff, like as a character, but I don't want him in any kind of promotional role.
I'm just saying like you know,
as a character on screen once in a while. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, see, we want different things than Phil. Phil wants something else. Which is, I get what Phil wants. I wouldn't mind him being some type of like committee guy or something like that, who's not there every week making the matches, but is a guy who helps decide what matches are being made. And it adds that authoritative figure, but they have to obviously find a way to do it where it's not every week he needs to be there. Every week he's the reason the matches are being made. Because I like the way it works right now. It's kind of perfect. But sometimes they need an authority figure. So, other than that, though, this was fine. And they closed it well, too, with Jericho getting the upper hand on OC, the best friends coming to make the save, but they're too late. Like, this was fun. So it was very well done, especially at the end. And you know, Jericho got his one up on Orange Cassidy, and if Orange Cassidy is going to win next week, then that's a good thing to do. And I really hope Orange Cassidy wins. I'm really excited for that match, man. Is it next week?
Yeah, next week.
Okay. During Tag Team Appreciation Night, huh?
I wrote on the notes Jericho versus Cody by accident for some reason, but it is next week.
Okay, I got that.
Just let men's tag team appreciation night, because like, are they really gonna? Are they talking about women's tag team? No.
There you go, Kira. Tweet it at Cody, please. I want to see if he responds to that one. That's legit. Because he responds sometimes.
I did tweet something like, I said, all elite wrestling, more like men's elite wrestling, and I tagged Aew Dynamite, Brandy Rhodes, and Cody.
Jeez, let them know. Let them know, because it's fair. We'll talk about it right now. They had Britt Baker announce that Reba's gonna face Big Swole. Forces Reba into the match, and it's a minute and a half
Stealing
match.
Our ideas.
This was literally like a 2-minute match, a very short segment. Yeah, it was unfortunate. I loved that Britt was coaching her. But I didn't love that she then did a moonsault, because I don't feel like someone who can do a moonsault needs to be coached how to wrestle like throughout the match. At least not the way they were doing it.
That just like builds how like bitchy Britt can be sometimes. Though, you know, it's like this, but like she already like doesn't.
But then she was like acting like she was gonna fall and shit. Like I wish she would have just done it all more fluid, not playing it in the middle.
Yeah, it was funny because this is when Joseph tuned in, and he had no context whatsoever, so he thought she was just some shitty wrestler. and I guess, you know, it's just somebody who doesn't tune in every week, you know, like, I guess that's what you think.
I just feel like it's fucked up. She knew last week that she needed to pick someone, so why didn't they do that last week or something, and then had like a promo video of her training Reba or whatever, so that it could be like a better match.
Because that's why Britt Baker's a bad guy.
I guess that's true, but it would have had more. Like, she could have been like a bitchy coach, and Reba could have been like crying.
How many shows have they given them multiple segments throughout the show? Like, couldn't they have started the show with Reba telling Britt, "Hey, we couldn't find anyone to wrestle," and then Britt's like, "Well, you're gonna do it then," and like just giving them a little bit more, a couple more minutes throughout the show rather than 2 minutes and that's it. Like, they've given Britt plenty of, like, 2-minute segments throughout the show where it added up to being enough. This doesn't add up to being enough. This was 1 2-minute segment that is easily, honestly forgettable in the whole grand scheme of the show, despite the fact that it should be very important. Like, we've been doing this for 2-3 months now.
Yeah, I remember saying, like, I guess 3 weeks ago or whatever this started, it feels like, I was like, she should have Reba fight Big Swole, and never even brought up anything about it. I don't know. They could have totally done it sooner or planned
Better.
Yes, absolutely. Or just, given more time to this, a little more time to the women's tournament. Where has our women's champion been for, like, 3 weeks now?
Who even...
Exactly.
It's
yeah,
Sheeta,
it's still
right?
Sheeta, and she was on a roll, man. She was on a great roll, and it might have only been 2 or 3 weeks, but it's not long. It doesn't take long to forget about who people are, and when she can't get verbal promos because she's not the best on the mic, they have to give her matches or something. And maybe she is popping up on Dark, but that just doesn't cut it for me, man. That's not a solid excuse for where someone that is a champion can be. So.
Yeah. My prediction is that she's going to be in the tournament with Abaddon, my girl. Big strange.
It's so fucked up that you were trying to predict that, despite the fact that when I did, you guys were like, "What?"
They could have pushed back, like, a men's story for like one of those segments that were here this week to have more women's time.
Or just made the debate a little shorter. You know what I mean? That's really all you have to do. And I get that it's easy for us to quarterback this from the back seat, but it just would have made things a little better. You could have cut off 1 minute from every match and given this then 5 minutes. You know what I mean? So there's a lot more they could have done. After this, we run down next week's Tag Team Appreciation Night, which I have to agree with Kira. It's just, they should call it Men's Tag Team Appreciation Night, because if you're not even going to run one of those tournament tag team matches on that show, then this is dumb. Like, I can't understand why you wouldn't do that. Why wouldn't, it's a tag team tournament, it's Tag Team Appreciation Night, why wouldn't you run 1 or 2 women's tag team tournament matches on this show? So
maybe they will.
I hope they will.
Did they talk about
They could add it after Monday. I wouldn't be mad at that. You do the deadly whatever the fuck it's called show, and you do that, and then you do a quarterfinal or whatever it would be, semifinal match on Dynamite. That would be fine by me.
I did like what someone commented on one of our tweets. They said maybe they'll have the final match, the two, like, you know,
finals, yeah.
Yeah, maybe they'll have that last match on TV, which I hope.
That should be on pay-per-view, though. You know what I mean? That's what we should be building it towards, is they should be finishing it off at All Out, where it feels even more important. But right now, I feel like that's not what we're going to get, and who knows?
No.
I do wonder if Sheeta will be involved in that, because I don't want the women's champion tied up in that. I would like to see 3 women's matches if possible. Do a women's championship match, do this tag team tournament finals, and then do Britt versus Swole. That's 3 cool women's matches. That really would shut us up. If you could put 3 women's matches on a pay-per-view, it would be hard for me to complain, because it's not many companies are doing something like that. And they would all have some type of build, because you could easily do Hikaru versus Nyla at the pay-per-view, and it makes sense. So I would like to see that. I would really, really love to see 3 women's matches at the pay-per-view. Please don't just shove her in a match against Brandy and Allie at the pay-per-view, because I just have a gut feeling that's where we're going. So.
Yeah.
But next week we got Scorpio Sky defending against Cody in a singles match on Tag Team Appreciation Night. Then we have Chris Jericho versus Orange Cassidy in a singles match on Tag Team Appreciation Night. Then we have Hangman and Kenny Omega taking on the Jurassic Express. So poor little Jungle Boy having to put over Kenny Omega week after week after week after week. It is just fucked up.
When I saw that, I said I was not looking forward to that one. I mean, it'll probably be great. Why? Just why?
Unless they're gonna win, which I would love that. I wouldn't mind that.
And it would make sense storyline wise if the team is going to start to crumble, they start racking up some losses. That could be cool.
Clotheslines Kenny. Somehow Jungle Boy gets a shocking pinfall over Kenny Omega of all people.
It'll probably be Luchasaurus.
Yeah, but I would love to see it be what I just said. That would make me very excited. But I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen and them still win. Like he clotheslines Kenny, but they still win. So I'm not too optimistic about this one. but they could do something in this match to really make me excited for next week's show. Like, if they win that match, I'll be excited going into the podcast pretty much no matter else what happens on that show, because I love Jungle Boy and would love to see him get that elevation. After this, we have the Dark Order taking on the Young Bucks. So another one I would love to see the Young Bucks lose. I don't think we will. I think the Young Bucks have to get built up more for that tag team title triple threat is what it's looking like to me. But I like the Dark Order now in a sense of, like, they're not my favorite team, but I like that they're an evil team, a bad team that we can cheer against. So the only way for them to stay relevant is to win. So a win here over the Young Bucks would be fine by me. But it's one where it's kind of a toss-up to me, but I'm way more so saying the Young Bucks just because they've done well enough with the Dark Order. And then we get to see the Rock and Roll Express get fucking beat up by somebody probably.
Oh, my
Or
God.
do a Canadian Destroyer again. I don't know.
Hell cares about this. Can you imagine if nobody came out?
Oh, to beat them up, they just come out and talk about tag team wrestling and then leave?
Kira, the Rock and Roll Express is a pair of 70-year-old men who used to wrestle.
They still wrestle. They wrestled like a year ago at Joey Janela's spring break, and they had a great match.
They wrestled in NWA too.
What if they get?
wrestling every
I
week
already
on
could tell you
NWA.
what's going to happen actually next week. Now that I think about it, they're going to get the shit beat out of them by Proud and Powerful, and the Best Friends are going to make the save.
Oh yeah,
That would be nice.
Because they had a great
It's
match with
very
Proud and
interesting.
Powerful at Janela's spring
It
break.
just no, they're not going to be fighting. They're just
They did like a year ago.
Part of Tag Team Appreciation Night.
Earlier than that, yeah.
I would rather see the Rock and Roll Express versus Proud and Powerful at All Out than the Best Friends versus Proud and Powerful. I'm not lying.
You just said a minute ago that the Best Friends are becoming a legit tag team.
Yeah, I
You
really
like
do, and I really
week.
like that, but you don't understand. The Rock and Roll Express
And you'd
versus
rather
Proud
see a
and
bunch of
Powerful
old
was
stars.
awesome. It was awesome. It was great.
It really
I hope
was.
if they don't do it that week, they should do it next week. Or in 2 weeks. That would be great. I'm just saying, it's a fun
really
match. It's a fun
interesting.
little segment they could do. So I think that's what
It
it's
is.
going.
I'm pro rock and roll with you, Andrew.
And they could be hanging
But-
out with his mom and shit. Like, it makes sense. If they're not, if they're listening and they
Hitting
don't
on
do
his
this,
mom.
they're stupid. The Rock and Roll Express should absolutely be flirting with Trent's mom. Proud and Powerful should come up and destroy them.
Oh, they're a tag team or
Wow,
ass.
dude.
Let's go.
All right. Anyways,
It's just interesting to me that on Tag Team Appreciation
There's
Night,
two
the two
singles
most
matches.
interesting matches are singles matches.
That's true.
I just
too.
wish they didn't call it that, and otherwise we'd be talking
Yeah.
about this is just a really fun card. But instead, we get to make
I would
fun
be
of
really
it.
pissed off if I was FTR and that was in my contract and this is what they gave me.
Right? This is some WWE shit. Like, we gave you something in your contract, here it is, but not really. So, Scorpio Sky getting an opportunity against Cody, I am looking forward to that. This is the first
Yeah.
time I don't think Cody's gonna lose, but I wouldn't be shocked. So
I
Yep,
am
with
begging
you.
for Cody to lose. Please, God, give me something different.
not to Sky though, because
Want him to, like,
Sky, I agree,
okay.
but Sky as the champion, like, where does that lead to? But he would
I
make
don't
sense as
know,
a
but-
character.
Exactly where it's supposed to. A
Maybe-
mid-card title.
That's fair.
Maybe his
Well, by
SCU
mid-card
brothers
guys.
will be jealous, and then the SCU will get.
Who
into a
cares
fight.
about SCU? They haven't been on TV in at least a millennium.
That's rude.
I think.
But that could be a fun match. So
Yeah,
It probably will be.
because he's good.
Tag Team
good.
Appreciation Night is a solid show with a stupid name. There you go. That's the easiest way to
Yes.
put it.
It's like
Yep.
every week doesn't need a theme.
Yeah, very true. Very, very
Like
true.
they've been 4 out of the last 6 weeks have had
And a
themes.
solid card for the last show before they go into the fucked up schedule. You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure next week will be the last week before they get into that tripped out schedule for at least a couple weeks. So it's nice to have something to look forward to next week before everything gets all screwed up. We get the main event here, Jon Moxley beating Darby Allin in about 14 and a half minutes in what was a really, really fun match, but somehow my Mark co-host really thought Darby was going to win. I never for a
Did you-
second...
did you
Yeah, I
watch it?
watched it, bro, and I still knew that Darby was never going to win. It's okay.
The seeds had
I-
been planted. Okay?
Seeds of
MJF
what?
has his promo earlier, and he blatantly says, I would rather face Darby Allin because he's a little boy. You know,
Yeah, and then
easier to
that's like-
beat.
They
He
buried
comes
Darby.
out mid-match, hits him with the belt, and Darby hits his finish, which I don't know if anybody ever really kicks out of the finish.
No.
And it makes sense because you could have a really cool triple threat match for the title. You know, you just throw Darby in there. And
It does,
instead
but
of-
it doesn't.
I mean, as entertaining as MJF Moxley is going to be promo-wise, the match itself probably isn't going to be great. It's probably not going to be match of the night. So you throw Darby in there, you do a bunch of cool shit, and it ends up being a pretty great match. That's at least what I thought. And it would have been shocking and interesting, and it didn't happen. It
was shocking after MJF came out with the belt and hit Moxley. That was shocking. And then then that's when you think maybe Darby will win because of this, and then he didn't. So
I mean, his finish is pretty protected. People don't kick out of it all the time.
I had the benefit of watching this match with hindsight. You know what I mean? Like, I knew, and I was fucking with you guys while you were watching it. But of course, like, if I was watching it live the way you guys were, I would have been buying in the same exact way. So I'm definitely just talking shit. But it's fun to think of a potential adding Darby to that match in any way would be fun. Like, Darby's great. And the match that they had tonight was great. And it's kind of like what Moxley said earlier in the night. Like, we always have great matches together. We always do crazy shit together. And they kind of lived up to that. So
that would be my biggest point, is that whether Darby was going to win or lose, this match was fucking awesome.
Yeah, they
killed each other.
They set the tone for this match in the first 30 seconds. Darby slaps him really hard. Moxley punches him in the mouth, and immediately his mouth is bleeding.
In like the first
and I was like, oh,
seconds.
Shit, it's going to be like that. Okay, cool.
Yep.
You don't really
That's cool as
came
hell,
into
too.
the room just to point out, man, Darby really kills himself, doesn't he? And I was like, yep.
So it was fun, and like I said, I'm definitely, if I was watching it the way you guys were, I would have been pulling for Darby the same way. And who knows what they're going to do with Darby next. Maybe just some more with Brian Cage. But this was fun. This was a good way, like you guys said, to elevate Darby a little bit, take him up another level. You guys were kind of joking, but it's kind of serious, too, in the sense of, well, this is what the Cody matches should be like. The only response I had to that was, well, Darby had a match just like this with Cody. So maybe it is Darby a little bit. Like, Darby has something special in him that he can have these insane matches that just take him to another level. And I bet you that ladder match would have been another one if he didn't get hurt early on in it, where you just were coming out of it like, wow, Darby is a superhero. So this was a great one.
Absolutely. This was really unexpectedly great, because usually it's like, oh, of course I know Jon Moxley is going to win. Why do I care about this? But no, the match quality itself carried this so far, and far and away beyond my expectations.
And the story, like I said, the little brother type story and everything that built up to it in the show. So they closed this show out great. This match probably did a great number too, and it wouldn't surprise me if it had a lot to do with the fact that there was a world championship match to close out the show against a contender that you might not have believed would win, but you wanted to win, or people wanted to win. Like,
there were a few spots here where I really appreciated some things. Like, Moxley has put some people out with the rear naked choke. He's got him in the choke. He's fighting it, and then he rakes his eyes like the desperation there. That was really cool. Another thing I thought was really cool is you got the program with Darby and probably Brian Cage coming next. I appreciated the fact that they didn't do any wonky shit with bringing Star Cage out. It was just about the two guys in the ring, and they told a great story. They didn't need all the outside crap.
Yeah, and like Moxley was just holding him.
Yeah,
I guess maybe apologizing.
Like a baby. He held him like a baby afterwards.
Or maybe telling him he did great. Like, told you to stay down.
Good job, kid.
And that adds that element to their whatever their friendship is. Like, these two guys are stars in their own right, and they will always, like, no matter what, when Darby comes to save Mox now, you're going to sort of remember that hug in the back of your mind where you're like, yeah, they are, like, best friends, even though they beat the shit out of each other sometimes. So they've done a fantastic job with those two, especially. Like, I'm back on the Darby train. We were all kind of off it due to his videos, but his matches make up for it so much that it's easy to forget about the bullshit that comes with it. And I'm excited. Like, this was a good episode of Dynamite. We've had good episodes of Dynamite almost week to week to week. Like, we're getting back into that run, AJ, that we were talking about right before COVID hit. Like, good numbers, good ratings, good shows. So this is really exciting. And somehow we're managing to do it all with Matt Cardona on the show. So.
If you not like him, I thought it was.
He's fine, but I'm just gonna be anti Matt Cardona for a while. It'll take me a while.
He was a little He was fine on the shot of Brandy. He just said "oh Lord" a lot. I don't get it. Does he do that? Was that just the show?
No, he's never done that.
Oh man, maybe that'll be his thing. I don't know.
Yeah, his new catchphrase.
Can't go woo woo
Oh,
woo
Lord.
anymore.
Yeah. So, but it was a really good episode of Dynamite. They have another good one lined up. I don't know how they will fare with them being on different nights. We'll probably have to change up our schedule quite a bit based upon those being on different nights as well.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
Is that forever or like
No,
just
Through
December,
NBA
or-
season for sure.
NBA.
Until it gets canceled again from COVID or
Shut up.
Yeah.
or anything else. But I mean, we knew this was coming early on in Dynamite. We like I said, we were almost fortunate of everything that went on in the world because we didn't have shows postponed for the last 2-3 months like they were supposed to be. But now we're in that time, so it'll be a shortened season, I imagine. So things won't be condensed as long, but we'll definitely have a fucked up schedule for a while. And hopefully, this good run will help them from being hurt by this, because it's one thing to be up against a sporting event, but to be totally changed of the date of your show for a sporting event, we'll have to see. We'll definitely have to see. And not doing it so consistently, one day on a Thursday, one day on a Saturday, very strange.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, excited. Dynamite next week on its regular scheduled time, and then we'll get everything updated after that. We'll be back next week, hopefully at our regular scheduled time. But nonetheless, a good episode, guys. Phil, go ahead and plug your social media.
It's right there.
Mine is at Kira_Slater.
People are going to search
can
you
follow
up,
me.
Phil, at right up here, because they can't see your video.
If I knew how to change my handle, maybe I would do that. I'm sure it's not available.
Isn't it your name? At
I've been trying to change it for a while just because I don't like it being my
Shout
full
out
name.
to our listeners for 106 episodes trying to get Phil to just plug his social media like a regular.
I used to do it, and then I just had to spell it out. And I'm just trying to make it something simpler. You know, maybe when I make it something simpler, I could.
or you can go to our Twitter bio.
AWPMD.
Our names are there.
Yeah.
Just click on them.
Our names are everywhere. So, AJ, where can they find you?
You can follow me on Instagram at AJ_TheFitzy and on Twitter at BigMatchAJ.
And as always, you can find me on Twitter at All Elite Andy. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/AllElitePod. We're on Instagram at All Elite Everything. We're on Twitter at All Elite Podcast. And we're also on YouTube at youtube.com/AllElitePodcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you smash that subscribe button, brother. Until next time.